So I wanted to make just a quick video about coolant leaks on this thing. I've had my fair share of coolant leaks on this, honestly, since I owned it, and it doesn't sound like it's super uncommon for these G2 Can-Ams from what I've read, just like minor coolant leaks to pop up here and there. Especially I've noticed as the temperature changes, like it's winter time now, it'll get cold. I'll almost invariably end up with a leak somewhere. Now, usually it's just like hose clamps or fittings or something simple that I can tighten up, especially with the relocate and stuff like that. There's lots of fittings, so I get that. They're prone to leak sometimes, especially these, instead of the spring ones, which I'd like to change out to eventually. These worm ones, I've noticed, especially when it gets cold, like to leak. You got to tighten them up a little bit. But what I'm tackling right now actually was a seep from the rearmost water neck on top of the head. So every time I would ride this thing, and like I said, once it got cold, it started noticing it more. It was burning some coolant. I could smell it. And then eventually I started to get a little leak underneath, like right about here, straight underneath the engine on the floor. So what I found was the bleed screw. I don't know if you can see that in there. The bleed screw on top of this rear water neck was seeping coolant. And as you can kind of see in there, I replaced my valve covers, the plastic ones, with aluminum ones, and at the same time, I also replaced the plastic water necks with these aluminum replacements, I think from Can-Am Parts Guy or whatever. But they still come with a copper crush washer, just like the factory plastic one does. And I believe that was the issue on mine. So I'm gonna try and replace both mine with these rubber bonded washers that kind of have a ridge on either side that squish a rubber ridge. And that way you should get some positive sealing action. I just think those M6s in there on those bleed screws are a little too small, and I really did not want to risk blowing that water neck out trying to tighten that thing up too much. It just does not seem like enough bolt to be able to get that to seal correctly, because it was plenty tight. It's not like the bleed screw was loose. It's just that copper washer, I just don't think it had enough ability from the bolt to compress it to seal it off. So as you can see on the other side, I did the same thing, and like you can see a little clearer on this side. I've got the aluminum valve covering and I've got the aluminum water necks. So I've already replaced it. I'm going to start it up here and hopefully see that I do not have a leak anymore. That'd be really great. Like I said, I've run into some other leaks. I did have one of these factory like crimp clamps fail. I guess I don't want to say fail, but it was leaking. I want to say this was a year or two into ownership, and the bike was pretty much still completely stock. And one of these was leaking right off the degas bottle when it was under here in the factory location. So I've had that issue too, where these crimp style clamps just leak for whatever reason. Like I said, it got cold and it just started to seep coolant. So hopefully this is the last of the coolant leaks for at least this winter. I'm sure next winter, hopefully I've fixed all the major ones, but like I said, I'm hoping with these bonded sealing washers that obviously the rubber will compress much, much easier than the copper. So that little M5 or M6 bolt or whatever it is should hopefully seal up a lot better with these than the copper crush washer. So I got it all put back together after the whole coolant leak fiasco. I let it idle outside with the cap off till it got up to temp, and just let it idle for probably like 20 minutes just to try and let everything burn off and burp out any air in the system. Then I filled it, and I actually took it over to my dad's and rode around for a couple hours and brought it back here. And I've checked it a couple days in a row, and I've had no coolant loss. So I would safe to say for now the leaks are solved. Hopefully those washers hold up. I just wanted to kind of share what I found so far, and if they do fail at some point, I'll make an update, but for now that's what I'm going to roll with, and hopefully, fingers crossed, no more leaks for the rest of the year. So that's it.